Yeah.
Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome back to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. My name is Dirk Keller. This guy's name is Bob Boyd.
Hi there.
This is the one and only Earl the Pearl Murphy.
Oh, that's him.
And we've got Pat White back. Pat White has graciously agreed to fill in this winter, I guess would be the safe way to put it, at least till...
Through the end of February.
Yeah, at least for the next couple months.
So does that mean he's on probation?
Oh, no.
Oh.
No,
And then
no.
you go, "Phew."
No, Pat...
No, I look forward
He
to
used to put people on probation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or at least recommend it.
That's right.
Well, it's good to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's real good
Yeah,
to have you
good
here.
to have you, Pat.
We haven't been on the air with a new show in 3 weeks, so a lot has happened in the in that time period.
What has happened?
Well, the Hawkeye
Yeah.
football team had a bowl game on New Year's Day against
They did.
Louisiana State at the Outback Bowl in Tampa, and it didn't turn out the way the good guys wanted. The Hawkeyes lost 21-14. Entertaining game, at least an entertaining second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're talking ancient history here. It's been a week ago today that the Hawkeyes played that bowl game. And as I said just a minute ago, it didn't start out. That first half was kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
And-
Our offense could not quite get going.
Yeah.
Well, don't you think Rudock was more limited than
Yes.
maybe he realized or the coaching staff
Looked like it.
announced?
Yes,
I mean,
I thought
he just
so.
was not moving
No.
the way he had during the regular season, and that's probably because of the knee injury in the Braves.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he got
And-
hurt
and-
again.
Yes.
And bad legs eventually affect your throwing ability. Affects
Sure.
strength of throw, how far you can throw. Like he had a touchdown with Damon Powell. He just didn't get the ball to him,
Yeah.
Boy, it would have been beautiful.
wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, there were a couple of his passes, the few that he was able to get to an open receiver, that just weren't quite on the mark. Either not enough zip, not put in the right place. I think one of the other problems for Jake Rudock was that LSU has two NFL quality defensive backs, and
Yeah.
our receivers just aren't able to shake free.
You know, one of the things we were talking about briefly before we started taping was how much we all enjoyed all the bowl games.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch very many to realize that there are some really talented receivers out there, and then you compare them to who we've got as receivers, and we're still a little short.
Yeah. Going into this season, our top returning receiver was Cavante Martin-Manley. And he had a bowl game that I think was typical of his season. He had some moments where he really stood out and made outstanding plays, and then there were other moments where it appeared that he just didn't have his thinking cap on tightly.
Who was number
Like
20?
the fumbled punt. Yeah.
Fumbled punt was one. There were some
was
passes
number
in his
20?
hands
Is
that
that-
he dropped, too.
Yeah.
20 is our
Kirksey.
What?
Christian Kirksey.
Christian Kirksey,
He-
linebacker.
Yeah, he had a chance to tackle the guy that went for the last touchdown. And he got about that far from it.
Yeah.
I said, why?
He missed that tackle.
Yeah, he missed him twice.
That's a big guy, big strong guy, and he just
Yeah.
got by him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we want to give credit to Louisiana State. Their running back, Jeremy Hill, is, again, NFL quality material.
He reminded me a lot of that Ohio State.
At least in terms of physical skill.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and he better plan on going to the NFL after this season because LSU just signed the #1 recruit in the country, and he's a tailback
Yeah.
All right.
from New Orleans who will probably be starting in that position next year
Well,
for Louisiana State.
and that's another thing in these BCS bowl games. There are a
Yeah.
number of true freshmen, either at running back or other skill positions, who are not just contributing but leading their teams.
Well, when it gets back to one of Iowa's weaknesses, though, is what we're talking about, and that's our receivers. The receiving core. Now, they had 4 that they redshirted this year. That'll be interesting to see who steps up next year because basically everybody's back in that receiving core except Fajorowicz.
And they picked us for 6th.
Shumpert's gone finally, too.
Shumpert's gone too. And I think, we're all disappointed in
Schumpert? Did you
Don
s-
Shumpert.
Yeah, Schumpert.
the fact that they didn't, utilize Powell more. I'm sure there are reasons for that.
I'd like to know those reasons.
Yeah, because he's certainly got a lot of speed, but that's what we're lacking is that separation.
but
When he had that breakaway touchdown
Yeah.
up at Minnesota, we thought, okay, they've got him going now. They've found
Yeah.
ways to use him, and there was very little after that. I
But,
don't know.
you know, I
Agreed.
think there's an improvement this year with our new receiver coach, Bobby Kennedy.
I
I
agree.
think you can see a difference from a year ago in working with Davis, and I think that'll improve. I think they'll get better. I think maybe that'll be a major improvement next year.
We
we
just lost the recruit we really wanted, who would be a true freshman next year. We just lost to Pittsburgh, who's may have some of the best true freshmen that I saw all year, playing receiver and running back, and a redshirt freshman quarterback. And of
What's
course,
his name? What was his name?
I
It's
forget.
not
The
Adonis, is
recruit
it?
was Adonis, yeah. Adonis
Jennings?
I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Originally had committed to Rutgers and
Yes.
then changed his mind, and he chose between Pitt,
We
us,
play
and
Pittsburgh next
Arkansas.
year, don't
Yeah,
we?
Yes,
Oh,
we
boy.
do.
yes, we go to Pitt. They'll be very strong,
Yes, they will.
and we go out there. But back to the ball game, Martin Manley's drop punt, I think, was the most important play of the game.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I agree. It was
Yeah.
7-zip at the time. That made it 14-zip, right?
Yeah,
Yep, and then our field goal
Yeah.
kicker misses a 35-yard field goal.
yeah.
And
Badly.
That's badly, and that's a 10-yard or 10-point swing in the game that we ended up losing 21 to 14, 7 point.
And that's a field goal kicker, Mike Myers, that did an excellent
He had a good
job for
career.
Iowa for 4
Good,
years. It
yeah.
was
Second leading
certainly
scorer
not
ever.
typical of his performance.
Nope.
And then, where we're talking about the punt team, what on earth was going on the last play of the game? I mean, our chances of doing something,
Yeah.
running the punt back, are fairly slim, but they're running Martin Manley in, then they take him out, and they end up receiving the punt with him on the sidelines.
Saw that.
And Riley McCarron fielding the punt.
A lot of confusion.
What's, the special teams coach appears to have blown that one.
Well, and I think special teams in general hurt us that game. Whether it was Cavante Martin Manley's punt, the missed field goal, there were missed tackles when we punted.
Yeah.
There were a number of opportunities to benefit and produce with special teams in that game, and it didn't happen. There were some opportunities they had that did happen with special teams in that game. The kickoff return, or was it a punt? Yeah,
That was a
kickoff return.
kickoff.
Marshall Cotton's son, Jordan Cotton.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, watching that play, I can still see it in my mind. He attacked that
Yes, he did.
defense on that kick return, unlike any other time in his career at Iowa. He went after it like a pro and just had a burst of speed from the get-go. And I thought, where has that been all 4 years?
I thought he'd break into the receiving corps. Remember that game last year? We had that nice touchdown reception, and he had great speed, and we
was that
just
against?
never, he never materialized in the
Played very
Iowa
little-
offense.
Very little as a receiver.
Yeah.
And I thought often in punt and kickoff returns, he looked tentative. He did not look tentative. He looked focused on that last kickoff return that he took back to, I think, the 5-yard line.
Well, the fact that they didn't ever use him on punt returns probably indicates that he doesn't catch as well as Martin Manley, for
Yeah,
example.
probably
I mean,
true. Yeah.
Kirk he goes for ball possession stability on punts. I mean, he always has.
Very well put.
And I don't know that I have any disagreement with that,
Yeah.
but he sacrifices speed and elusiveness for making sure we catch the punt, which makes the Martin Manley drop even more disappointing.
Yeah.
That really hurt.
Maybe this is off the record.
Because
but-
that's a tough job,
Oh, it's very tough to field
receiving
punts.
punts.
Yeah.
But, did Kirk's son go with Houston?
There has been no official announcement
Don't
if
you-
Brian Ferentz has taken the offensive line position with the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, the rumor's been out there now for about 4 days, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
I saw it on
Yeah.
TV last night.
And there's been no confirmation, no denial,
Uh-huh.
probably means that it's
A done deal?
gonna be a fact, and they just haven't finished the paperwork.
Right.
The sources are pretty reliable. One's a media source from Houston, and one is Gil Brandt, who's
Right.
sort of an NFL guru. Used to be with the Cowboys, and I don't know, he may still be a consultant down there, but,
And
Well-
Houston lost their coach, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
well, they didn't lose him. They sent him packing, and have hired Bill O'Brien, who,
Yeah.
well, and the connection, of course, is that Bill O'Brien was Brian Ferentz' supervisor with the New England Patriots.
Is that
When-
right?
When
Correct.
Brian was the tight ends coach, Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator. Penn State hired him, and he's been Penn State's coach for 2 years,
Yeah, I
and
knew that, yeah.
obviously has chosen to go back to the NFL with Houston.
Well, Brian's done a good job here at the University of Iowa, but this could be a terrific opportunity for him to make that next
I
step.
guess the owner's a great guy.
Yeah.
Houston Texans?
Yeah.
Don't know who that
Right.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, he may have decided, I mean, obviously, he's got a relationship with O'Brien. He presumably likes O'Brien. He may have decided that being a coach in the NFL is something he likes better than being a college coach.
And
Being
it's
a,
not a lateral move.
being a college coach is, it's time consuming. You're on the, if you get any extra time, you're on the road recruiting, or you're on the phone recruiting.
And
Yeah.
Brian was one of our better
He
recruiters.
was.
That's true.
That's gonna be
Yeah.
missed. If he goes.
I think he's probably gone.
Yeah.
There are too many, like you said, respectable sources that,
I think
This
that
isn't
his
rumor.
dad still likes the pros.
yeah, you got a little fuzzball hanging there from your, oh, I got it.
Well, we'll know shortly.
And like you said, Bob, it is a good career move.
You know, he can still go there and educate himself a little bit more and still come back to the college game.
Oh, yeah.
Happens all the time.
Oh, well, that's where his
Or-
father came from.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
but
And-
the likelihood is, he's been in the pros as a coach, came back to college for 2 years. If he goes back to the pros, the likelihood is he's not gonna jump back to college anytime soon, if at all.
Yeah, good
I
point.
mean, the next step for him,
Yeah.
if it's true that he's gonna be the offensive line coach for the Texans, then the next step eventually would be to be a coordinator.
And
Yeah, but you know what happens, guys? Guess what? It's what is the best opportunity moving forward? Will it be in the NFL as a coordinator if he goes to the Texans? Or
it's better
will
money.
it be for a head coaching job in a college 3 or 4 years down the line? Who knows?
Yeah,
The new offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans is who?
I don't know that I've heard.
Don't know.
I thought that I read whoever it is only going to be there in that position for a few short years because of their age. And the idea behind Brian Ferentz going there was that he would graduate into this
I
position.
haven't heard that one.
Not Greg Davis, is it?
No, it's not
Oh,
Greg
just checking.
Davis. One thing also to keep in mind, Brian Ferentz was with the Patriots, and before he left there to come to Iowa to take the job, he was about, well, there were rumors that he was about to be named the offensive coordinator for one of the, help me out here, folks. One of the Patriots' former assistant coaches left there to become head coach somewhere. And he was going to take Brian Ferentz, it was rumored, as his offensive coordinator.
Well, wasn't it also rumored at the time that
Well,
he would
could
go
be
to
O'Brien.
Penn State with
That
Bill
could- yeah,
O'Brien?
that could be O'Brien.
That was it.
Because they left.
That's
they-
what
they
I
left
remember.
At the
That
same
was it.
time.
Thank
you.
O'Brien went to Penn State, and
Yeah.
Brian came
I
back.
think that was the deal.
You know, for your listeners' benefit, because the Ferentz to Houston rumor hasn't been reported locally, one of the things that I learned to do a couple weeks ago was use Twitter, which turned out not to be that complicated, and proof that you can teach an old dog new tricks. But you can follow me now at @JPatrickWhite.
Ah,
But Twitter is where I picked up these rumors, and the reason that I decided to try to get on Twitter was it's obvious that a lot of news breaks there
Yeah.
these days.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I won't be going on Twitter anytime soon.
No, I can't
It's
see
not that
working
hard.
for you.
You go to twitter.com
Yeah?
and you say, the thing will come up that says, I want to create an account. You sign in, and all you need to do is put in your email address and a password. And you have a Twitter account.
Simple enough, yeah.
It would
If
help to have
if
vision.
I can do it, you guys
Yeah,
can do
for
it.
sure.
It would help to have vision.
What did you
Yeah.
do?
Big
Pardon me?
time.
What did you do?
Why did I do it?
Yeah.
Because I could see that a lot of sports and news reporters were using Twitter to
Yeah.
release breaking news. And I just wanted to try to tap into that.
It's free. It's real, for sure.
Whoop.
And it doesn't cost anything, assuming you've got a computer.
I'll tell you something that was real was the national championship game Monday night.
It was.
That was a good game.
What a game!
Yeah.
I got to tell you, for the final BCS game ever, and the final year for the BCS, those football games were very entertaining.
They really were. The whole month, starting Saturday, the
Yeah.
21st of December, there were some great football games.
That's true.
And I know I'm biased, but watching most of them, and including the national championship game Monday night, our defense can play with those teams.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
It's our offense that is really lagging.
Good point, Pat.
Our defense really was a pleasant surprise this year.
Had
Well,
a great year.
It was a real treat to watch the Auburn-Florida State game. I found myself personally conflicted on who to pull for.
I was going to say exactly, I was torn.
Yeah.
I could never pull for the SEC.
I'm tired of the SEC.
Me too.
So
There's
I'm
no
for
way.
Florida
Yeah.
State, but
I really like Auburn's
Auburn
coach,
was the underdog, and I'm sort of
High school coach?
Gus Malzahn.
Gus Malzahn. Was a high school coach,
Yeah.
yes.
That's something.
He's an entertaining coach. I don't sense the egotism that you do with LSU's coach or the Alabama coach, Nick Saban.
Yeah,
And I didn't sense it in his players either, really. I thought the Florida State coach was drawing a blank on his name almost.
Jimbo Fisher.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher.
I don't know if Jimbo's a nickname or his
Yeah,
real
good
name.
question.
yeah, he kinda talks funny, don't he?
And I found myself I found myself rooting for famous Jameis Winston, the quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner. I thought he conducted himself very well throughout the game. A lot of ebbs and flows to the game, and a lot of ups and downs. Late in
Yeah.
that game, he could have fallen apart.
Well, his
But he
coach
didn't.
kicked him out of the last
I
practice.
just saw that.
Yeah.
Don't
He
you
must
think,
not have been working too hard that last day before the game.
don't you think that's one of those games where you can legitimately say the team that last had the ball?
Yeah.
wins?
Yes,
So I told my
Yeah.
son what happened.
If it'd been 3 minutes longer, the chances are Auburn would have come down and scored.
Yeah. Last team to score won, and I think the same was true Saturday night in the Sugar Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. Two extremely entertaining
Yeah.
games going on at the same time. Was that Saturday or Friday night?
Friday night.
Friday night, yeah.
Yeah. They won.
Cotton Bowl was Missouri and Oklahoma State. The
Yeah.
Sugar Bowl was Ohio State and Clemson. And again, I found myself conflicted because over the years, I've developed a real strong dislike for every single Big Ten conference team. And I found myself pulling for Ohio State.
Well, you gotta cheer for the conference.
Oh, I
winning
don't
those
have to.
bowl
So
games,
I
don't you?
I don't have
do.
to.
Some people don't.
I do.
But I found myself doing that. Michigan State, same deal. I
Yeah,
despise their coach. I despise their team and their players.
Every
But I
time-
found myself pulling for
How
them.
about like
Every
that video that they did in May at the Rose Bowl
Yeah.
Stadium? His daughter took that, they showed it.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. Or we're gonna be back here on New Year's Day, and I'm thinking, yeah, you dreamer. I mean, in May, you had to be a
They
dreamer.
were. They were back.
They sure were.
And they earned it.
They did earn
I'll
it.
give them credit. And
They
I thought
absolutely earned it,
Michigan
yeah.
State, I thought, really showed up strong.
Even though they're still faking injuries.
Well,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what, yeah.
They need to,
Yeah.
they need to change that rule.
I'd
it's
fake him
got
to
to
get there.
change.
Oh.
If you come out, if play is stopped and you come out, you can't go back in until the ball changes hands or until,
Right.
Next
until
quarter,
you
for
make
sure.
a first down or
Yeah.
something,
Right.
rather
And-
than the next play.
And tell me, did you see any of the fake injuries in the championship game? or the other two BCS games on Friday night.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but Michigan State did.
Yep. And of course, that gets me going on LSU.
I thought I did.
I was thinking LSU might have pulled that.
LSU,
Yeah.
And,
LSU was blatant.
and, yeah.
And Michigan State, you're right, that was blatant. But
but it works.
it does.
Now-
That's why they do it.
If you're a coach and you know it works,
And there's nothing the refs can do about it.
Did
why
Iowa ever
wouldn't you
do it?
start?
I don't ever
I don't
remember
think-
that.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think we ever have, but when
No.
you can see assistant coaches on the sidelines waving like this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
somebody is hurt.
Yeah.
And trying to decide whether to stay in or limping toward the sidelines, and the coach is telling him to go down.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw this, but since the Iowa game, there have been articles written where coaches have admitted, unnamed coaches
Yeah.
and players have admitted to practicing
Oh, gee.
the fake injuries, how to do it, when to do it, the signals, as Pat just discussed.
Yeah.
Number 90 for LSU, the only problem he had was he couldn't remember which leg he hurt.
Oh, yeah.
He went down on his back, and it was his right leg, and then,
Yeah.
or, I'm sorry, he went down on his belly, it was his right leg. They roll him over, and it's his left leg that's injured.
That was unbelievable. He's holding one, rolling over, writhing in pain, and then when he gets to the sideline and they get him on the table, they're working on the other
Yeah.
knee.
I'd like to know what the graduation rate is for some of those schools.
This
I
is
guess
the
it's
same
all
guy,
published, but-
number 90, 2 plays later after he's helped off the field in horrific pain.
Uh-huh.
This guy, okay, 2 plays later, and maybe I'm mistaken, it might have been 3 plays later, is when Beathard threw what at the time looked to be a fumble. And was overturned, and ruled an incomplete pass. But
Yeah.
when it was ruled on the field a fumble, number 90 is jumping for joy. I mean, bringing both knees up to his chin, so excited they recovered this fumble. And I'm thinking, wait a minute.
That's the guy that just
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
off so
Healed up
badly
pretty
hurt he
quick.
couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
So as Pat said, as we all agree, something needs to be done by the NCAA this off-season. Take them out either for the rest of that possession or take them out for the rest of the quarter.
That's it.
How did it used to go?
That's it.
When you came out of a game back in the day, were you out the rest of the half? I'm
Don't
talking.
know.
I'm
I
talking
think it
single
was.
platoon. That's the
Yeah.
way I remember the
I don't remember.
59 Rose Bowl guys explaining it to me. And
That may be an
Well,
Eddie's.
all in all, though, putting an end to the football season, would we have all taken 8 and 5 4
Oh,
months
yeah.
ago?
Absolutely,
That's what I thought.
yeah,
Yeah. So we should be fairly pleased with
absolutely.
an
Should-
optimistic
yeah.
View on next year, I
Yeah.
think.
I think so too.
and I'm
But if you're a fan, you always want more.
Of course.
And you always look at a game and say, if only this had happened. Like, for example, one of my if onlys is when Beathard was in, Fedorowicz actually was behind the defense when Beathard threw the interception. If Beathard gets the ball over the defensive head to Fedorowicz, we
Yeah.
score instead of an interception, and
yeah,
there we are again.
there we are again.
Yeah.
The same way with number 22, he had 2 or 3 steps on
Yeah.
Well,
the defensive man.
As every coach will tell you, including our coach, there's 2 or 3 plays every game that can change the outcome. We see that every year. And this year's no exception with what you just said, Pat. How about the Northern Illinois game, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the game that got away from us, because I really think the other 4 teams that beat us were better.
Well, we lost the only games we lost this year. All 5 games were lost to ranked teams.
Yeah.
Well, Northern Illinois wasn't ranked at the time, and I don't know that they finished ranked in the top 25. So that's not an accurate statement. But the other games we lost were all to ranked teams: Michigan State, Wisconsin,
LSU.
Ohio State,
Yep.
and LSU. So next year, I'd like to think that we could beat some ranked teams. We didn't beat a ranked team this year, and if we're looking for areas of improvement, not only in record,
Yeah.
then it's time to start beating ranked teams again. Plain and simple.
Chance of us playing many ranked teams next year is pretty slim.
Oh, the schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pitt's going to
schedule's
be one of the
favorable.
toughest
Yeah,
games.
yes, it will be.
Wisconsin might be up there, but that'd be about it.
Is that game up there or here?
It's here
That's what I thought. And we play Minnesota up there again.
again, and we play
Just like
Northwestern
Wisconsin.
and Wisconsin at
Oh.
home.
Yeah.
Our old friends Illinois come back on the schedule.
Awesome.
At Champaign.
At
this year.
Champaign, that's good. That's a good
I'll be at that game. Can't
away
wait.
game victory.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
So, moving on, we're going to just wrap up the football season and say it was a very exciting BCS bowl game series of contests, and a lot of fun to watch those games. I've never really been glued to the TV like I was for these BCS championship series games. So, a good way for the BCS to go out. We'll see how everything unfolds next year with the playoffs. in
Good
college
riddance,
football.
BCS. About time for a
Well,
play.
Northern Iowa had a pretty good team. didn't they?
Northern Iowa?
Yeah.
No.
They had a
They had a down year this
For
year. I
them,
don't
it
know.
was a down year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not going to be as good probably next year as they have been, Murph. And this year
Yeah.
they struggled.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Iowa State, they brought on Mangino,
Yeah, Mark
the offensive
Mangino,
coordinator. That
former Kansas head coach.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be better next year.
You would think.
You would
Is
think.
he the skinny one?
No.
no.
He's
No.
the big dude. Yeah,
He's like the Kool-Aid man.
Jolly Green Giant
He's
kind
a
of guy.
big guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now it's basketball season. It's wrestling season. Basketball is on our mind. We all watched the Hawkeye men's basketball game at Wisconsin. Number 4 ranked undefeated Wisconsin Sunday night. Hawkeyes, as they've been known to do, got out to a great start in the first half, had an 11-point lead at the break, and then started the second half and just kind of fell asleep. Quit doing what got them that 11-point lead.
Yeah.
Started missing not just more three-pointers and more free throws, but they started missing the bunnies, the short shots, the ones under the bucket. And that's been their curse in all of their losses.
Officiating wasn't good.
I don't think the officiating's ever very good. It certainly hasn't been very consistent this year.
Free throws are still a little bit
Oh,
of a curve.
bugaboo.
And those are mental things. The
Yeah.
three-point shots,
Oh,
those
yeah.
are mental things. The little bunnies under the basket, I'm sorry, but in my world, that's also a mental thing.
Why doesn't somebody 7 foot instead of kind of the soft touch layup? Jam it. You're there.
Yeah.
You're 7-1. I don't get that.
That's going to be a good question for one of the Iowa basketball coaches at the next Monday morning quarterback club.
Pat, what do you think?
Well, I think Woodbury should dunk. I think he's better this year than he was last year. But I don't think he's ever going to be the All-American that we thought he was going to be when Roy Williams was trying so hard to recruit him to North Carolina.
Yep.
I think he's a decent ball player. His size makes a defensive presence that helps,
You betcha.
but he just isn't getting it done on offense.
He's
Well, I
not.
thought that what you said to me after the quarterback meeting had a lot of truth to it. Why are the girls missing free throws?
Well, I actually somewhat jokingly have said, but I'm wondering if there's some truth in it. Both men and women are having trouble at the free throw line. And I'm starting to wonder if the cause has to do with the practice facility.
I'm glad you brought that up
They're,
because,
they're not
Yeah.
shooting
Yes.
in the arena nearly as much as they used to.
yes,
And
And
it's
there's
a
a huge
totally
difference.
different background.
Yes.
depth
Totally
perception.
different. You got, in the practice facility, you've got a wall right behind the basket. And
You're
you
right.
don't- You don't play in any arena with a wall right behind the basket. It's just
You're
different.
close to Lisa. Has she addressed that? Has she talked about that a little bit?
Not publicly. She has always said she wants to practice in the arena as much as she can.
Yeah, yeah.
But for all the reasons that they built the practice facility, it's hard to do. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a big demand for it.
Well, with the men, and I suppose also with the women, the ones who are missing the free throws are the ones traditionally that you count on.
Yeah.
Yes.
For
Marble,
the men, Marble
Gazelle.
and Gazelle.
Yeah,
Gazelle's just above 70, Marble's about 65%, and that's just not good enough.
Well, last year Marble shot 84, 85%.
Absolutely.
Gazelle last year, correct me if I'm wrong, was close to a 90% free throw shooter.
Well, and I think if the other team got a technical foul and we wanted to pick who's going to shoot it, we'd pick Gazelle last year.
Yeah,
who would you pick this year?
Utah.
Probably Utah or Aaron White.
The game against Wisconsin was frustrating, not only for the missed shots in the second half, but, we might as well address it. Fran McCaffrey lost his mind and got 2 technicals, got thrown out of the game, bumped an official. You can argue that the official bumped him or they accidentally walked into each other,
I
but
think it would be more accurate to say there was contact. Between Fran and the official.
Yeah,
and it cost him. It cost Fran $10,000 out of his pocket. It cost him 1 game. He'll be suspended for tomorrow night's game here at Carver Hawkeye against Northwestern.
and it should.
Yeah.
And it cost him some respect, both among Iowa fans
Yeah.
and around the country.
Yep. It's divided the fan base a little
Yes,
bit.
it has. Yes,
It
it
really
is.
has, because there are those of us who are very loyal no matter what, thick and thin,
Yeah,
and would back Fran to the hilt. And there are those who are embarrassed by it. Who was it? Pat Hardy this morning in the paper was talking about, was it his grandma or his mother he was talking about?
His mother.
And his mother said she turned off the TV once he got kicked out of the game because she was so disgusted with his behavior. And I think we all have to keep in mind that there are people and fans who don't like to see that and don't want that to be representative of the state of Iowa, of the university, and of our men's basketball program.
well, and there is also a misconception, and this has been, I think, part of the media's problem, that the University of Iowa athletic department is paying that fine, but Fran McCaffrey is paying the fine. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, that is correct, but the Big Ten imposed the fine against the University of Iowa.
Yes, that's
and
right.
then
Which to
Somebody-
me
good
is the
point.
wrong way to do it. You should fine the
Well,
coach directly,
There-
in my
But the
opinion.
Big Ten's approach is, they want institutional control.
Yeah,
They don't supervise Fran McCaffrey. The University of Iowa does, and they want the University of Iowa to have more class in its coach and to avoid that behavior being repeated. So they fine the school and expect the school, Sally Mason and Gary Barta, to deal with him.
well,
Yeah.
they say they want institutional control. That's like talking out of both sides of their mouth, because the Big Ten totally controls each institution with their TV
Well, not the
contracts and
not the
TV
coaches,
times,
But
and,
not the coaches. They
you
don't,
know,
they don't decide who the coaches are.
No.
yeah.
Now, let me talk about double standards. Did anybody catch the Michigan State-Ohio State game
Yeah,
last
yes,
night?
I did.
I didn't-
Izzo.
No, I didn't.
Izzo went nuts at halftime.
He went nuts, but he stopped himself at the point where Fran kept going.
His coaches
Okay.
stopped him.
It was a great, there was a young woman who was the ESPN sideline reporter,
Yeah,
and she apparently had not ever done a Big Ten game before.
Uh-oh.
And she was tasked with doing his going off the court interview at halftime, just after he went nuts. And so she catches up with him at the edge of the court, and he's breathing heavy. He's so worked up that he's exhaling and his chest is coming up and down. And she asked him something like, "How did you do this or that?" And he said, "Well, I'm not very happy right now," pretty loud. And she was very much taken aback.
I didn't see this.
That was great.
I only saw highlights of him
And
going
so
berserk.
finally she came stuttered and said, "Well, why not?" And he said, "Well, because my man just got pushed out of bounds and the referees didn't do anything about it."
Well, I still think there's a double
So
standard.
we'll see if he gets
oh,
reprimanded.
yeah, he could get away with
He
that.
won't get reprimanded. He's Izzo.
He's not supposed to say anything about the referee.
He's won a national title.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I think there is a double standard. Granted, Fran crossed the line
He did.
when he got physical. But I will also say this in his defense. He too, like Izzo last night, was being held back by his assistant coaches. When he went to free his arm from the grasp of one of his assistant coaches, that's when he picked up his technical. That's when he came in contact. The motion, I felt that the motion of trying to free himself from the grasp of his assistant coach led to the physical confrontation with the referee. Not totally, but I don't think he would have come in contact with the ref if his coaches would have had a better grip on him.
What I really worry about, and I've worried about it before, I was not surprised at Fran's eruption. He's been over the line angry ever since he got here, in my opinion.
You're right.
And I think the most important thing coming out of this is whether he learns and finds a way to control his emotions enough that this doesn't keep happening. He's been ejected from 2 games. Last year, we talked about it this time last year when I was here. He bumped Devin Marble at center court. He was so mad about something
I remember talking about that with you.
He raced out. He didn't have any intention to bump Devin Marble, and there was no evil toward his own player in his mind, but he bumped him. A year or 2 ago, maybe 3, he kicked the scorer's table enough to move it a couple inches into Dolphin and Bobby Hansen's lap.
Yeah.
There was an incident at the scorer's table where they were having trouble with the clock, and he screamed at him severely enough that one of them quit the next day.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another person who's
They're volunteers.
been at the scorer's
I know.
table for 20 years quit at the end of the season. Both saying they were tired of Fran's abuse. That's not good when
No.
you're yelling at volunteers in
I
front
agree.
of an arena full of people.
I agree.
Who won that game?
Which game?
That, Ohio State,
Last night.
Michigan State won in overtime.
won in overtime.
they did?
Uh-huh.
Well, let's
They're-
put it back.
They're
in
both good. Aaron Kraft is
Yeah.
superhuman.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about institutional control. That's Gary Barter's job
It is.
to get that under control.
It
And
is.
I'm sure he's working on
And,
that.
and it's
Well put.
very important not to forget for a moment, Fran has done a terrific
Absolutely.
job
Yes.
for
Yeah.
Iowa men's basketball.
Yes,
I mean, he has brought
that's right.
basketball respect back to us, and that's one of the reasons that I'm so disappointed, because he's put us back in a position where the country respects us as a team, our skills, our players.
Yeah.
And he needs to
Didn't
live
you
up
think
to
that,
that.
that the article that, he's from Des Moines? the
Rick
president-
Brown.
Rick Brown,
No,
The
yeah, you talked about.
Bryce Miller.
No, Ron,
Maley? For
No.
the,
Hardy.
Oh, Pat Hardy's
oh,
from
Pat
Iowa
Hardy,
City.
okay.
He had a pretty good column on it. today.
That's a good writer.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, Pat,
I thought he
Mhm.
did a good job.
so Pat, what do you think? What should Barta do? How can Gary Barta?
Well, I think Fran needs some, my own opinion is, we've seen enough that it seems he needs some professional help. What's generally referred to as anger management.
Well, Pat, some of the players didn't even know he got
Thrown out?
thrown out of the game.
Well, they're in an awkward position, Earl, to talk about their coach.
Well, if it,
I said, I agree, but,
I can tell you this much. If my coach had approached me the way he did Devin Marble last year and bumped me in anger, I'd have a hard time playing for him.
One of the things that I mean, he keeps saying, the players keep saying publicly they love him,
Right.
yeah,
which appears to be true. We
Right.
haven't
Sure.
had any defections,
Right.
other than Pat Ingram, who I think pretty clearly left because he wasn't getting playing time.
sure.
yeah, mhm.
The
Yeah.
coach wasn't an issue. There's still a concern about playing time, and we've got too many good players,
Yeah.
which is a heck of a delight.
Good problem to have,
as
I
a
think.
problem, yeah.
Yeah.
We should have beat Wisconsin.
Well, we had them beat.
And I think we're a better team than Wisconsin.
I agree.
We had Villanova beat.
Yes.
We had Iowa State beat.
Well,
Yes.
that's just it, guys. Here's what we need to do.
Got to play 40 minutes.
All right.
From a team standpoint, they need to learn how to close it.
And let's take that
We need to
another
be
step.
concentrating on that instead of where McCaffrey's at, I think.
But, okay, players and teams usually play as a reflection of their coach. I think it's safe to assume. Does this Iowa team reflect Fran's personality when he gets mad, when he loses it? Because he lost it, and he has lost it several times this year.
I was surprised
multiple
that he
times.
lost it.
Well, we didn't get to see it live. It was during commercial break. But my question is, is the players' inability to close out games against top competition a reflection of Fran's inability to keep his cool under pressure?
I don't think so.
Well, I don't either. I hope it's not. I don't think it is.
No. I think it's an inability to make free throws and turn the ball over a little bit too much, and there's a lot more pressure in the last 2 minutes of a ball game than there is the rest of the
But
game.
I'm gonna ask again.
These kids are used to pressure.
Don't forget our losses, and I
Yeah.
don't claim these numbers are exactly right, but the teams we've lost to, if you added up their record, you'd be something like 45-1. And Wisconsin's was rated 4th in the country. Have they moved up to 3rd? Villanova's they weren't ranked when they beat us.
Yeah.
But they've been in the top 10 for the last month.
Who of the teams we've lost to has been defeated?
The only loss is to Villanova.
But
Villanova has
a
one loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wisconsin's undefeated, and so's Iowa State.
Yeah.
What are they ranked? 9th?
Right up there, yep.
Oh, they're moving up.
I think they're ranked
And they
9th
just
this week.
destroyed
Yeah.
Baylor.
top 10 Baylor
Yeah.
last night. I watched some of that
They're
game.
looking awfully good.
I'll tell you what.
With the guy
Iowa-
who we came very close to getting, Georges Niang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were his second choice. I don't know why
Yeah.
he was narrowed to Iowa and Iowa State, but he did.
More money, I guess, at Iowa State.
Did
Well,
you
hopefully-
see, speaking of money, Barry Switzer's admission within the last
No,
week?
Former Oklahoma State football coach.
Yes, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Did I say state?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That he took care of his players if they needed help.
Monetarily, you mean?
Well, that's the implication.
didn't say
He didn't
that
say
part.
that, but
Okay.
that's
I
the
didn't
implication.
see it or hear it or
And
read
he's
it.
been questioned about saying that. He said, well, you believe what you want to believe, or something like that.
I read his book,
Yeah,
which was a fascinating read.
I bet.
I mean, the guy grew up dirt poor,
Yeah.
barefoot, outdoor plumbing, no
Yeah.
running water, and he came a long way from that position in life. But there were certain admissions in that book.
Were there?
He never came out and said I got cash, but he did admit that some of his players wound up with cash in their pocket from contributors who acted upon their own
Yeah.
volition.
Do you think Stoops is like that?
No, I don't.
No,
think
I
Stoops-
don't. I think Bob is a
No.
straight shooter.
I do too.
And I really like the way he conducts himself on the sideline
Yes.
when all around him
Uh-huh.
are going nuts.
Yeah.
One of the rumors, by the way, is the Cleveland Browns are
Yeah.
trying to talk him into interviewing. And
The Ohio native.
yeah,
He's not going anywhere.
well, Youngstown is like
Yeah.
40 miles from Cleveland.
He's Oklahoma's all-time winningest coach. He just won his 160th
Yeah.
game in 15
That's pretty
years.
amazing.
But he also
Yeah.
has a number of detractors at Oklahoma who claim he can't win the big one.
Yeah, we just
He
won
just
one.
did.
Yes, he did.
What are they saying this week? What have you done for me lately attitude, you know?
Well, look at Texas. They just hired the first
What-
black coach
Yeah.
in their history. Not just football, but any head
Yeah.
coaching position at the University of Texas. And
That's right.
Well, some big billionaire contributor said it's a kick in the face that they hired him.
You're kidding.
No,
Oh, boy.
no, no.
You know, it's one of the disappointments that constantly comes up, not just in sports, but in life, is the racial animus that's still out there.
Yeah. True.
A.J. McCarron's, this is another thing I found on Twitter this week. A.J. McCarron's mother,
A.J. McCarron is the
Quarterback
quarterback for
for
Alabama.
while Jameis Winston is being interviewed post-game, tweets, "Is this English I'm listening to?"
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Wow.
AJ's mother? Not his girlfriend. huh?
No,
his
it was
mother.
girlfriend tweeted that she liked that comment.
Did she?
Yes,
The girlfriend.
yes. But,
Okay.
and then they both deleted those comments fairly soon
Oh,
after
man.
that. But
Well.
that's,
Hey,
Really
I'll
out of
admit,
place.
it was really hard to understand him.
well, he was charged up. He
Yes.
was so excited.
Yeah, but you can say the same thing about Jimbo Fisher, his coach. He's tough
Yeah.
to understand, too.
I thought Jameis,
I thought he handled
more than
himself
any
He
very
talked
other,
well.
funny.
more than any player we saw this postseason, interviewed after a game, I thought he expressed, I don't know what it was, but just sheer joy. He seemed to be
really
so
did.
genuinely happy, not just about the outcome, but I think he was still stunned at the time at what he and his teammates were able to achieve under such tremendous pressure. He just seems so happy.
I swear to God, I saw him making that sign.
Well,
of the
think what he's
cross.
achieved in the last
I don't
fight.
know if he made the sign of the cross, but somebody, and I don't remember who it was,
Yeah.
asked him, they
I
were
thought it
trying
was
to
him.
drag the interview out and said, is there a person in your life who's been particularly influential in helping you get to where you are? And he paused and his face lit up and he said, yes, sir, God Almighty.
Yeah.
I just loved
Wasn't
it.
it great?
I just loved it.
Who did that, Pat? Which player?
Jameis.
Winston.
Oh, did he? I
Yeah.
missed that, yeah.
I think, you
It
know,
was
Pat,
just so genuine.
and it's the expressiveness in his face. You can he seems like such a happy-go-lucky kid. It's hard to imagine him doing
What, isn't he
something so
6'2"?
heinous.
6'2"?
at best. Yeah.
No, he's pretty good size.
Been
Not only that,
6'2".
his 20th birthday
Yeah.
was that day.
Is that right?
Yes,
I didn't
yeah,
know
he
that.
just
Day they won the national
Just
championship.
turned redshirt
Wow.
freshman. Speaking of
Yeah.
redshirt freshmen, Oklahoma won with a redshirt freshman,
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah.
he had a great game, too.
didn't he?
And it
Holy
overcame quite a bit
smoke.
this year.
Yeah.
He missed quite a chunk of the season with injury.
Yeah, but
And
how
then
about
didn't he
it?
come back and get hurt again?
He
That's
got-
what I thought.
How about his brother, Cozy?
Whose brother?
Soup's brother.
Mike Stoops.
Oh, Mike Stoops, the defensive coordinator for
Yeah.
Bobby, yeah.
And Jay Norvell is still there.
Yes,
I was
that's right.
surprised.
Did you see him on the
Yeah.
side?
Oh yeah,
sure.
you can't miss him. He's
Yeah.
got a very distinguished face. His mom and dad are friends of my family, and I'm just really happy
I've
for
had
them.
him too.
There's some great pictures on Facebook
He's
of them
done well,
after the
done
game.
very well.
There you go, three Hawkeye alumni, Bobby Stoops, Mike Stoops, and Jay Norvell,
Yeah,
coaching the Sooners.
yeah.
I think Bobby Stoops is one of the nicest guys I've ever known.
and one of the most successful former Hawkeye football players now coaching,
I was
maybe
at-
ever.
I was at quarterback, and he came to quarterback.
Quarterback club lunch.
Yeah,
As a grad assistant?
I know the head coach at Oklahoma.
Oh,
And he looked around, he sees me, and he came to my table and he sat down for about 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And talked to me. And I thought that was pretty nice.
You betcha. We should all be so fortunate to live as long as you have.
Yeah.
Because, people remember you, Earl.
Yes.
That's a big deal. I see it when I sit with you at lunch
Yes,
and different coaches
Yeah.
walk in.
yeah.
They enjoy seeing you. We got to see, speaking of that, we got to see and hear Lisa Bluter speak
Yes.
Yes.
on Monday.
She's
And-
tremendous.
Yeah, and
Very good.
we're talking about temperament of the coaches on the bench. I continue to be very impressed with how Lisa conducts herself on the bench, especially when the calls go against her, especially when the calls seem to be so bone-headed. Lisa just turns around. She'll state her case without histrionics and turn and walk away.
She keeps her cool.
I don't know how she does it.
well, she's very effective at talking to them as they walk by her.
Yeah, I bet.
That's well put.
And
It's
then,
not as obvious.
then when she gets emotional about it, they see right away that she's upset about something, and most of them will stop and see what she's upset about.
Yeah.
And you know what? Officials do not like to be obviously embarrassed.
No, they don't. Yeah, like, they're
And
human.
so, yeah, probably
it's-
the way she handles it's a good way to handle it. Yeah.
Oh, it's
And there were some bad calls.
Oh.
I mean, Penn State was better than us, but there were
Yeah.
some really
Yeah.
bad calls.
Well, Pat and I were at the game, and we go to most all the women's games.
Yeah.
And, yeah, as he said, there were some just terrible calls both ways in the Penn State game. And wow, is that Penn State team good.
Yes, they are.
We just want to make
Big.
that very clear. Very talented, very tall. They've got the best. Is she a point guard or a shooting guard? Shooting guard.
Maggie Lucas.
Maggie Lucas is a fourth-year senior.
She can play the point.
Oh, my goodness, can she shoot.
Mm.
And then the other guard was quicker than any woman I've ever seen on a basketball
Yeah,
court.
very quick.
And I pointed out to my son and daughter, watch this girl run. Dribbling with the ball. She was faster going up court than the Iowa defenders who weren't dribbling the ball, were just trying to keep up with her. She
Wow.
left them behind time and time again. And that's no crack against the Iowa defenders. I've just never seen quickness like that.
I think Penn State's going to be pretty good for a long time.
Oh,
Coquise Washington is doing a great job of recruiting. She was a point guard at Notre Dame, and she was on Muffet McGraw's staff as an assistant at Notre Dame.
How
before
long has she
got-
been at Penn State, Pat?
She's been there probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
Yeah.
But she's getting some players, and
Oh, is
she's
she
got
ever.
people on the bench that
Joe.
are 6'3", 4, and 5.
Wow. Yeah.
How much time we have left? 9 minutes to go. Well, the women have started off 0-2 in the Big Ten Conference after having a really strong non-conference schedule and record. They've got Minnesota at home tonight, and
That'll be tough.
Lisa told us that they feature the number one power forward in the conference. What's her name?
I don't know, she's from Sweden.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So,
How do
Didn't
they
she say
recruit
she
somebody
might
from
be the best
Sweden?
player in the Big Ten?
yeah, in her position.
No, it's
In her
best
position.
best post
Post
okay.
player,
in
yeah.
the Big Ten.
Now, but they're not as deep as Penn State,
Well,
thankfully.
except they have Rachel Banham, who's,
Yeah.
along with Maggie Lucas, probably first or second best player in the league. And I'm hoping she's a senior this year.
I hope so too. Hey, let's face it, the Big Ten, men's and women's, is the toughest conference in the nation, up and down the line. You're going to face a quality opponent most every night. Hopefully,
Yeah.
the men tomorrow night against Northwestern, that's not much of a quality opponent this year. But
They're down.
Yeah, they're down. But the women tonight against Minnesota, it's going to be a tough one. Another tough one at home.
Yeah.
And they really can't afford to start out 0-3 in the conference.
Couldn't have really afforded to start 0-2,
No.
but that's where they are. They have one problem in common with the men and one just the opposite of the men. They're having trouble with free throw shooting too.
Yeah.
And they're also starting slow and
Yeah.
putting themselves in a hole, which they then come back
Real
from.
good point.
Mm-hmm.
And they dug a hole against Penn State and came back from it, got within 1 point midway through the second half.
Did the same thing at Indiana.
That's right.
Yeah. And they've done the same thing in other games.
They were 14, 15 points behind in the second half against Indiana.
What about Syracuse?
Ended up losing by 2, yeah.
They were down
Same.
that much almost, maybe 14 against Syracuse here at home, came back and won. And at the time, as we're watching that game, I didn't think there was a chance they'd come
I
back.
didn't either. I thought we were done.
How about Tom Brandt?
With wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that just a second.
I thought, we don't have
well,
much time.
So the women also are on the road. Let's see here. The game tonight is neither game tonight or the game at
Wisconsin.
At Wisconsin on Sunday at noon are on TV. Neither game is on TV tonight or Sunday at noon.
This is the women you're talking
That is correct.
Okay.
The women.
about. Okay.
But KXAC AM 800, as always, will have the game live. They also, actually, I guess that's all I've got for them right now.
Okay.
I do want to say though that loss to Penn State was the first home loss of the year, so I don't expect to see too many more of those at home. The men have a game tomorrow night, as I mentioned, here against Minnesota.
Northwestern.
I'm sorry, Northwestern. I need to wear my glasses. Northwestern's
You want
record
mine?
is 7-8, and they are 0-2 in the conference. The game is at 8 o'clock on ESPNU, which a lot of people don't have. Then they have a Sunday game at number 3 Ohio State, who just lost their first game of the season last night to Michigan State. That game is Sunday at 12:30. Before we sign off, I also want to mention the Iowa Wrestlers have rebounded nicely from their home loss to Penn State. They won 3 individual titles and scored a tournament record 187.5 points in the 51st annual Midlands Championship tournament in Evanston over just before New Year's Day. Thomas Gilman, Derek St. John, and Mike Evans each won their first career Midlands titles. And it was the 23rd Midlands Team Championship for the Hawkeyes. 23 out of the 51 years they've held this tournament, the Hawkeyes have won. Last Friday, they went on the road and beat number 21 Purdue handily, 30-3. It was their 16th straight Big Ten opening win. And then on Saturday, they shut out Michigan State. And I mean shut out. They won 41-0. They won all 10 matches, most in convincing fashion. Michigan State is really down this year. But now comes the Friday night.
Yes.
Home meet against number 4 Oklahoma State. Their record is only 3-2, but they've lost to Oklahoma, which I watched on TV. And did they lose to Iowa State? No. They lost to somebody else good. Anyway, that's Friday night, 7 o'clock. You're supposed to wear black. I believe, golly, I didn't write this down, but I believe the game is on the meet is on the Big Ten Network. Sunday, they have another home wrestling meet at 2 p.m. when they host Indiana. Indiana is coached by former Hawkeye Dwayne Goldman. He's done a very good job there with the Hoosiers. Both of these meets, I'm sorry. Both of these wrestling meets are on Mediacom 22. And they will also be on KXIC AM 800 live. Okay. So pack the place Friday night if you can. Whenever Oklahoma State comes to town, it is something to behold. John Smith is a longtime coach for the Cowboys. And I tell you, Tom Brands and Terry Brands, there will be fireworks Friday night. There were fireworks Saturday night when they had Michigan State down. I mean, Tom Brands is throwing his jacket. Terry Brands is throwing the green flag to protest calls. They're pointing at the opponent's coach's bench. They were frustrated. Primarily, they were frustrated with the stalling on Michigan State, which is an age-old Iowa issue. Heck, we've got a statue of Dan Gable out there in front of Carver Hawkeye Arena with him holding up the fist, which is the international stalling call. So look for some fireworks Friday night. Joe, how we doing? 1 minute. Okay, well, get out there and support the Hawkeye women, support the Hawkeye men, and support Hawkeye Wrestling. High school basketball has resumed. We've got a lot of top-notch teams in the area, both boys and girls. Get out there and support them. In the meantime, my name is Dirk Keller, and I am thanking you for watching this on behalf of Bob Boyd and Pat White and Earl Murphy and Joe Murphy behind the camera and lights. He's the man that makes it happen. We thank you for watching every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. here on Channel 18. We'll rerun the show on Sunday nights at 6 p.m., and you can always catch it on patv.tv, the website, patv.tv, or you can just go to my Facebook. I'll have it up there every week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And remember this, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks. Whoop 'em good.
Amen.
There we go.